Heartbreak can feel like the world has shifted beneath your feet. I am Taylor, and I once believed that love would be my sanctuary, a harbor where I could anchor my heart safely. But life taught me otherwise. Promises were broken, trust was betrayed, and the person I thought I knew best revealed cracks that splintered everything I had held sacred. In the beginning, every day was a battle. The simplest routines felt monumental. Morning light through my window reminded me of everything I had lost: the laughter, the intimacy, the future we had envisioned together. I walked through streets feeling invisible, as though my pain carved a hollow space inside me that no one could fill. Loneliness, at first, felt like punishment. Yet it became a mirror. In isolation, I faced the rawest truths about myself, my dependencies, my vulnerabilities, and the patterns that had led me into heartbreak. Writing became my salvation. I filled journals with confessions, reflections, and sometimes a whisper of hope. Each page was a step toward reclaiming Taylor, the version of me not defined by someone else's betrayal. Music became my refuge. Songs carried the weight of my grief, yet also the promise of healing. Each note echoed the tension between sorrow and strength, despair and resilience. I would lie awake at night, letting melodies cradle me, until the ache in my chest softened just enough for me to breathe again. I discovered the value of friendship. People who stood quietly by my side during my darkest nights became pillars of support. Their presence reminded me that love is not confined to romance. It exists in those who truly see and accept us. Through shared laughter, tears, and silence, I began to rebuild trust in others and in myself. Reflection became my compass. I examined every choice, every expectation, and every misstep that had led to my heartbreak. Understanding my role in my own pain did not lessen the betrayal I endured, but it illuminated lessons that I could carry forward. Self-awareness, I realized, was the first step toward true resilience. With each passing month, I began to rediscover the parts of Taylor that had been buried beneath loss. Painting, writing, and small acts of creativity turned into rituals of self-love. Each creation became a testimony to survival, a reminder that my heart could still feel deeply, not just sorrow, but hope and joy. I started noticing beauty in small, unremarkable moments: the sun spilling light across a quiet street, the scent of rain in the evening, the warmth of a stranger's smile. These glimpses of life reminded me that the world is larger than pain and that healing could coexist with heartbreak. Love returned, cautiously, but not urgently. I met someone who recognized my scars and embraced them without judgment. This love did not erase the past, but it did not demand I surrender to it blindly. I learned to differentiate between infatuation and genuine connection, between desire and emotional security. My heart could give again, but with wisdom. Through solitude and reflection, I realized that empowerment comes from within. I established boundaries, honored my feelings, and pursued passions that nourished my spirit. Heartbreak had not closed my heart, it had strengthened it, revealing depths of empathy, courage, and resilience I had never known. By the time the seasons shifted, I could feel the change within me. The girl who had trembled in fear of love now walked with awareness, confidence, and grace. Tears that once marked nights of despair had transformed into lessons of endurance. My heart was no longer fragile, it was tempered, ready to embrace life fully. Friendships deepened, passions flourished, and love became a possibility approached with understanding. I learned that vulnerability is strength, not weakness, and that living authentically requires courage, even when the risk of heartbreak remains. Standing at my window as the sun set one evening, painting the sky with fiery hues, I whispered, "Taylor, you have endured, survived, and grown. Heartbreak has shaped you, but it does not define you. Your heart is whole, your spirit unbroken, and your journey has just begun." Life went on, full of uncertainty and beauty. Challenges would come, but I knew I could face them. I could laugh, love, create, and live fully. The girl who once feared love now stood empowered, alive, and unafraid. Heartbreak had been my crucible, and from it, I had emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace every facet of life. The nights were the hardest. Silence stretched across my room like a heavy curtain, and the memories of betrayal replayed in vivid colors I could not erase. I would reach for my phone, hoping for a message that never came, only to feel the cold reminder of absence. Yet in that very emptiness, I began to confront my own heart, its fragility, its resilience, and its capacity for hope. I found solace in movement. Long walks through quiet streets, the rhythmic sound of my shoes against the pavement, became a meditation. Each step grounded me, teaching me that life continues even when it feels paused by heartbreak. The city around me moved with an indifferent beauty, unaware of my inner turmoil, yet somehow offering a mirror of persistence. Writing became more than a sanctuary. It became a map of my emotional landscape. Each page I filled with words, not for anyone else, but for myself, revealing the depth of pain, the subtle glimmers of hope, and the fragments of dreams I thought were lost. The act of writing reminded me that I could articulate my suffering, that I could shape it into understanding, and ultimately, transform it into growth. Friendships revealed themselves in their truest form. Those who stayed near, who reached out when I withdrew, who listened without judgment, they became my lifeline. Their quiet support, their steady presence, taught me that love does not always demand romance. There are souls who see you fully in your darkness and your light and love you anyway. Those bonds carried me through nights of doubt and mornings heavy with uncertainty. I began to notice how small joys could heal. The first sip of morning coffee, the scent of rain on the pavement, a stranger's smile in a crowded place, each seemingly insignificant moment reminded me that life is filled with details that sustain the spirit. Healing, I realized, often comes in whispers, in the subtle, almost imperceptible moments that accumulate into resilience. As time passed, my creativity bloomed. I painted the shadows of my mind into canvases, composed melodies that traced my emotional evolution, and wrote narratives that told the story of a heart navigating despair and courage. Each creation was a testament to survival, a proof that pain could be transformed into art, that heartbreak could become a catalyst for beauty. Cautious love approached. Someone entered my life who recognized my scars, my laughter, and my strength. Their presence did not erase the past, nor did it demand blind surrender. This love was measured, tender, and respectful. It taught me that intimacy does not require perfection, and that a heart once broken can still give deeply when it is guarded by wisdom and experience. Through reflection, I discovered empowerment. Boundaries were no longer optional, they were essential. I honored my needs, my feelings, and my limits. Vulnerability became an act of courage rather than recklessness. Each choice, each decision, reinforced the truth that heartbreak does not imprison the heart, it refines it. By the time spring arrived, The renewal of nature mirrored the growth within. I could smile without hesitation, laugh without guilt, and embrace life without fear. The girl who had once trembled in the shadows of betrayal now walked confidently, aware of her strength, her beauty, and her resilience. Every tear shed, every sleepless night endured, had forged a heart that could love wisely, live fully, and face the unknown with courage. Friendships deepened, passions flourished, and love became a gentle possibility approached with mindfulness. I had learned that true connection is built on honesty, respect, and shared understanding, and that a heart once shattered could still bloom. As dusk painted the horizon in shades of fire and gold, I breathed in the quiet of the world and whispered gratitude for survival, for growth, for the lessons that heartbreak had imparted. Life remained unpredictable, full of shadows and light, but I had discovered within myself a steadiness that no storm could shake. The journey continued, and I was ready, not to forget the past, but to integrate it, to honor it, and to move forward with a heart both tender and unbreakable. In the quiet moments, I understood that heartbreak is not a final chapter, but a passage, a transformation from pain to wisdom, from despair to strength, from loss to a life fully reclaimed. Life after heartbreak is a quiet revolution. I learned that the world does not pause for sorrow. It continues with its indifferent rhythm, demanding that I move, breathe, and feel again. At first, every step felt weighted. Every interaction felt heavy with expectation and fear. Yet slowly, the smallest actions, getting out of bed, answering a friend's call, walking under the morning sun, became acts of defiance against despair. I discovered a truth that would guide me through the months ahead. Healing is not linear. Some days, grief would wash over me like a sudden tide, threatening to pull me under. On other days, joy would sneak in unannounced, a melody, a smile, the scent of rain, and I would feel life stir within me again. Accepting this rhythm became crucial. I stopped judging myself for feeling both sadness and hope simultaneously. Art became my compass. Each painting, each song, each story I wrote was an exploration of the vast, turbulent terrain of my heart. Through creativity, I gave form to what was otherwise intangible, the ache, the longing, the fragile hope that had begun to grow. My heart, though once fragile, found strength in the act of expression. The scars of betrayal became a map, guiding me toward a version of myself I had never met before. Friendships, once casual, became sacred. People who witnessed my vulnerability and still chose to stay became pillars I could lean upon. Their laughter, their patience, their unwavering presence reminded me that love exists beyond romance. It exists in the steadfast, quiet moments shared with those who see us fully, even when we falter. Slowly, trust returned, not the naive, unguarded trust of the past, but a measured, courageous willingness to believe in the goodness of people and life. I realized that heartbreak does not destroy our ability to connect. It teaches us how to connect with depth and awareness. Boundaries became my allies. They were no longer walls, but protective measures that allowed love to enter safely. One evening, walking through a park where the cherry blossoms had begun to bloom, I realized how far I had come. The pain that had once dominated every thought now coexisted with gratitude and possibility. I could watch the world fully present without being consumed by what was lost. I had learned that the heart's capacity to endure is infinite, and that resilience grows from facing despair with courage. Love approached again, tentatively. Someone entered my life with patience and understanding, recognizing my scars not as weaknesses, but as markers of survival. This connection did not erase the past, nor did it demand perfection. It asked only for honesty, presence, and the willingness to grow together. I found that giving love again with wisdom felt profoundly empowering. I also learned to embrace my solitude as a source of power. Time spent alone was no longer lonely, it was sacred. I reflected, planned, and dreamed without interruption, discovering layers of myself I had ignored in my pursuit of validation from others. The girl who had once trembled now walked with intention, curiosity, and courage. Healing, I discovered, thrives in small moments. A smile from a stranger, a song that resonates with your soul, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. These fragments accumulate, shaping a heart that is not untouched, but unbroken. I realized that joy and grief can coexist, each enhancing the other, forming a rich tapestry of experience. By the time the first warm days of spring arrived, I could finally say, without hesitation, that I had survived, and that survival was not merely endurance, but transformation. My heart, once fractured, had learned to love itself first. I laughed, I cried, I created, and I dared to hope again. Every wound, every tear, every sleepless night had led me here, to a place where heartbreak was no longer a cage, but a crucible forging a stronger, wiser self. Life, with all its uncertainty and beauty, stretched before me like an open road. I was ready to embrace it fully, to love and be loved, to live and to create without fear. The journey through shadows had revealed the light within me, and I would carry it always, illuminating my path forward, no matter what lay ahead. By the time summer approached, I had begun to notice subtle shifts in myself. The sharp edges of my grief had dulled, replaced by a quiet strength that I carried in my chest. Each morning, I woke with the knowledge that life, no matter how unpredictable or painful, continued, and I was capable of moving forward with grace. I found comfort in routines that honored both my heart and my mind. Morning walks along quiet streets, journaling with a steaming cup of tea, and practicing music in the evenings became rituals that grounded me. These routines reminded me that stability comes not from external sources, but from cultivating peace within. Art became not only a form of healing, but a declaration of survival. I painted my nights of despair as landscapes of hope, transformed the ache of loneliness into melodies that resonated with resilience, and wrote stories that carried the echoes of my journey from heartbreak to empowerment. Each creation reaffirmed the truth I was learning, that the heart, though wounded, can rebuild itself with courage and intention. Friendships deepened into something more profound. Those who had seen me at my weakest became anchors, teaching me the value of presence, patience, and unconditional support. In their company, I learned that love exists beyond romantic entanglements. It thrives in understanding, empathy, and shared experience. Love approached, again, cautiously. This time, I recognized the subtle difference between desire and readiness. The person who entered my life did not attempt to fill voids, but shared moments fully and honestly, offering companionship without expectation. This love taught me that intimacy is not about completion, but about complementing another while maintaining the integrity of oneself. Reflection became an essential part of my journey. I analyzed patterns, expectations, and moments that had once led to heartbreak. Understanding my past allowed me to navigate the present with wisdom and compassion, not only for myself but for others. I realized that pain does not diminish value, it clarifies priorities, illuminates resilience, and sharpens the lens through which we view relationships. Nature became a mirror for my growth. I watched flowers bloom, rivers flow, and seasons change, recognizing the parallels in my own transformation. Life was cyclical, full of death and renewal, despair and hope. In observing this rhythm, I embrace the truth that heartbreak, too, is a natural part of the human experience, a passage through which strength, empathy, and wisdom emerge. Through solitude and reflection, I nurtured a sense of empowerment. Boundaries became sacred, not as walls, but as instruments of self-respect. Vulnerability transformed into courage, and I approached new experiences with curiosity rather than fear. The girl who had once been cautious and hesitant now stepped into the world with intention and confidence. Small joys, once overlooked, now held profound significance. A gentle breeze on a hot afternoon, the laughter of friends around a shared meal, the quiet moments of reflection under a night sky. These fragments built a foundation of contentment and resilience that no heartbreak could dismantle. By midsummer, I could look back and recognize how far I had come. The heartache that had once dominated every thought now coexisted with gratitude, hope, and a quiet determination to embrace life fully. Every sleepless night, tear shed, and wave of despair had contributed to the person I had become, a person capable of loving deeply, creating fearlessly, and navigating the world with both empathy and strength. I realized that life is not about erasing the pain but integrating it. Each memory, each loss, each heartbreak has shaped me into someone stronger and more aware. I embrace the present fully, finding joy in what was, hope in what could be, and peace in knowing that my heart could endure and thrive. As the sun set on long summer evenings, painting the sky with shades of gold and crimson, I felt a quiet certainty settle in my soul. Life's journey, with all its shadows and light, continued. I would continue to, unafraid, empowered, and ready to face whatever lay ahead. Heartbreak had not defeated me. It had prepared me to embrace life in all its complexity and beauty. Autumn arrived with its crisp air and falling leaves, painting the world in shades of amber and gold. There was a subtle shift in me, too, a quiet strength that no one could see, but I felt in every fiber of my being. The grief that had once dominated my days now existed alongside a new clarity, one that allowed me to move forward without forgetting the lessons of the past. Every morning, I began to greet the day with intention. Simple rituals, stretching by the window, savoring the aroma of coffee, taking slow, deliberate breaths, became acts of mindfulness that reminded me of my presence in the world. I realized that healing is not about erasing the past, but about finding equilibrium within it. Art continued to be my sanctuary. I painted the turbulence of my emotions, composed melodies that mirrored the shifting seasons of my heart, and wrote stories that gave voice to the complexities of resilience. Each creation was a testament to my journey, a tangible record of how heartbreak had shaped me, yet not defined me. Friendships strengthened into unwavering bonds. Those who had witnessed my vulnerability remained, offering support without judgment. Through their love and patience, I learned that connection is not always about words, but about presence. The laughter shared, the silent understanding, and the gentle gestures of care became anchors in my life, reminding me that love exists beyond romantic confines. Love appeared again, not as a storm, but as a steady presence. This person recognized the lessons etched into my heart and approached with patience and empathy. Their understanding allowed me to engage without fear, to explore intimacy with wisdom and courage. I discovered that a heart once broken could still give fully when guided by awareness and self-respect. Reflection became a cornerstone of my existence. I examined my past choices, my patterns of trust, and my responses to betrayal. Through this introspection, I understood that heartbreak is a teacher, revealing not only the faults of others, but the opportunities for growth within ourselves. I learned to forgive, not to condone, but to free myself from the burden of resentment. The world outside mirrored my transformation. I watched the leaves fall, rivers flow, and seasons change, realizing that life cycles mirrored my own emotional journey. Heartbreak, like autumn, was a shedding, a preparation for renewal. In embracing this rhythm, I found comfort, hope, and the courage to trust life again. Empowerment became tangible in everyday actions. I set boundaries with clarity, pursued passions that nourished my soul, and approached new experiences with curiosity rather than hesitation. Vulnerability was no longer a risk. It was a conscious choice, a declaration of strength. I began to notice beauty in the ordinary. The laughter of children in the park, the scent of freshly baked bread, the quiet rustle of leaves. These small moments reminded me that life is composed of fleeting joys that sustain us. Healing, I understood, often arrives quietly in these seemingly minor experiences that accumulate into resilience. By the end of autumn, I had grown into someone who could observe the past without pain, who could engage in the present without fear, and who could look to the future with hope. The heartbreak that had once consumed me had been transformed into wisdom, strength, and a capacity to love and live deeply. I walked through the city streets with a sense of purpose. The wind carried the scent of change, and I felt aligned with its momentum. Life had taught me that shadows are not permanent, that light persists even in the darkest corners, and that the heart, though fragile, possesses extraordinary resilience. As the first hints of winter approached, I whispered to myself with quiet conviction, I have endured. I have grown. I have loved, lost, and learned. My heart is stronger, my spirit unbroken, and my journey continues, full of possibility, courage, and hope. Winter approached with quiet inevitability, wrapping the city in frost and stillness. There was a starkness to the world that mirrored the clarity I had gained in recent months. The turmoil that had once ruled my days had settled into a calm vigilance, and I felt prepared for whatever life would present next. Each morning, I woke with gratitude for survival, for the lessons heartbreak had imparted, and for the strength that had grown from adversity. My routines became sanctuaries, a warm cup of tea, soft music playing in the background, and journaling my reflections. These rituals grounded me in the present, reminding me that even amidst uncertainty, I could remain anchored. Art continued to carry me through the season. Paintings captured the frost and warmth. Music traced the delicate balance between sorrow and hope, and my writings chronicled the evolution of my heart. Each creation was a reminder that I could transform pain into beauty, that heartbreak could be the foundation of resilience, and that my experiences were not wasted, but woven into the fabric of who I had become. Friendships had solidified into lifelines. Those who had remained through the darkest days now shared in the quiet triumphs. Their support reinforced the truth that connection and love are not solely found in romance. They exist in the steady presence of those who accept us completely. I realized that vulnerability, when met with empathy, is not weakness, but strength. Love persisted gently. The presence of someone patient and understanding allowed me to engage without fear, to explore intimacy with openness and wisdom. Their respect for my boundaries and recognition of my past wounds created a safe space for genuine connection. I discovered that the heart, though once broken, could embrace love fully when guided by awareness and courage. Reflection deepened. I revisited the choices, patterns, and expectations that had once led to heartbreak, not with regret, but with understanding. Every misstep was a lesson, every disappointment an insight. Heartbreak revealed not just the fragility of trust, but the extraordinary resilience of the human spirit. It taught me that healing is an ongoing practice, a journey of attention, care, and self-compassion. The natural world mirrored my internal growth. Snow blanketed the city in quiet, yet beneath the frost, life continued, unseen but persistent. The cycles of nature, dormancy and renewal, decay and rebirth, reflected the transformation of my heart. I learned to honor the cycles within myself, embracing moments of solitude as preparation for renewal, despair as a precursor to hope. Empowerment became tangible in daily life. I maintained boundaries, nurtured passions, and approached challenges with intention. The girl who had once feared emotional risk now met life with courage and curiosity. Vulnerability became a conscious choice, an affirmation of strength and authenticity rather than a source of fear. I noticed the subtle joys of the season, the crisp smell of frost in the morning, the quiet hum of city streets, the warmth of a friend's touch, or a comforting conversation late into the night. These moments reminded me that even amidst heartbreak and loss, life is rich with experiences that nourish the soul and rebuild the spirit. By midwinter, I could observe my past without pain, engage with the present without hesitation, and anticipate the future with hope. The heartbreak that had once defined my life had been transformed into wisdom, clarity, and a capacity for deep, authentic love. I walked through the streets with intention, aware that life is a delicate balance of shadows and light, despair and hope, endings and beginnings. As I watched the first snow settle on the rooftops, I whispered with quiet certainty, I have endured. I have learned. I have loved and lost. My heart is strong, my spirit unbroken, and my journey continues with courage, hope, and an unwavering belief in the beauty of life. The early months of the new year brought with them a sense of possibility. I could feel the weight of the past lifting, replaced by an energy that was quiet, steady, and empowering. Every choice I made now felt deliberate. I was no longer reacting to loss, but creating my life with intention. I spent hours reflecting on the journey I had taken. Heartbreak had been a formidable teacher, exposing vulnerabilities and revealing hidden strengths. I realized that the depth of pain had expanded my capacity to feel not only sorrow, but also empathy, joy, and gratitude. Each experience became a thread in the intricate tapestry of my life. My creativity flourished in ways I had never imagined. Music, writing, and painting allowed me to translate complex emotions into tangible forms. I discovered that expressing my inner world was not only healing, but also powerful. My art resonated with others, connecting me with people who had felt similar heartbreaks, validating that pain, when shared, could foster understanding and connection. Friendships evolved into profound relationships that sustained me. Those who had supported me without judgment now became partners in joy and exploration. Shared experiences, quiet dinners, long walks, heartfelt conversations reminded me that love is multifaceted, existing not only in romantic encounters, but in the unwavering presence of caring hearts. Love entered my life again, subtly but undeniably. The connection was marked by respect, patience, and deep understanding. There were no unrealistic expectations, no urgent demands. Instead, there was a quiet acknowledgement of each other's pasts, a willingness to navigate vulnerabilities together, and a shared commitment to growth. For the first time in a long while, love felt safe and sustaining. Through reflection, I understood that empowerment comes from self-awareness. Recognizing my past mistakes, patterns, and needs allowed me to navigate relationships with clarity. I no longer feared heartbreak because I knew that my heart could endure, adapt, and love wisely. Each lesson learned became a shield and a guide, shaping my choices with intention. The natural world became a source of inspiration. Blossoms appeared, rivers flowed, and seasons shifted in an eternal rhythm that mirrored my own inner evolution. I found comfort in knowing that growth requires cycles of shedding and renewal, of endings and beginnings. Heartbreak, like winter, had prepared me for spring, a season of new possibilities, love, and hope. Empowerment manifested in daily actions. I established boundaries with clarity, pursued passions that nurtured my spirit, and approached challenges with confidence. Vulnerability was no longer a risk, but a conscious choice, a testament to my courage and authenticity. The girl who once trembled now walked into life with grace, awareness, and resilience. I discovered the beauty in subtle moments, the warmth of sunlight on a chilly morning, the laughter of strangers in a cafe, the quiet companionship of someone who truly listens. These fragments, seemingly ordinary, built a foundation for joy, hope, and a renewed sense of self. Healing was no longer a distant goal. It was lived every day, in every interaction and experience. By the time spring was fully upon the city, I could witness my past without bitterness, engage with the present without fear, and step into the future with hope. The heartbreak that had once defined me had transformed into clarity, wisdom, and a profound understanding of the heart's resilience. Life was no longer something to endure. It was something to embrace fully, with courage, authenticity, and love. Standing beneath a canopy of blooming trees, I whispered to myself, not as a declaration, but as a quiet truth. I have faced darkness and emerged stronger. I have loved, lost, and grown. My heart is whole, my spirit unbroken, and my journey continues with courage, clarity, and the unwavering pursuit of joy. Summer returned, carrying with it a sense of closure and renewal. The journey through heartbreak, reflection, and growth had brought me to a place I once thought impossible, a place of calm strength, clarity, and self-acceptance. The girl who had trembled under the weight of loss was gone. In her place stood someone transformed, not untouched by pain, but defined by the courage to rise above it. Every day felt intentional. The simplest moments, morning sunlight through the window, a soft melody drifting in the air, laughter shared with friends, carried profound significance. I realized that life's beauty exists not in the absence of suffering, but in the ability to navigate it with grace, awareness, and resilience. Creativity became a reflection of my soul. Songs, writings, and paintings were no longer just expressions of emotion. They were declarations of survival, proof that heartbreak can birth strength, wisdom, and profound empathy. I saw how sharing my journey could connect me with others, offering solace, inspiration, and the understanding that no one endures heartbreak alone. Friendships deepened into unshakable bonds. The people who had stood by me during the darkest nights became lifelong anchors. Their presence taught me that love is not confined to romance. It is found in steady companionship, empathy, and mutual support. I learned that being seen and accepted, flaws and all, is a form of love that strengthens the soul. Romantic love re-entered my life with tenderness and patience. The person who arrived honored my past, my growth, and my boundaries. Together, we cultivated trust, shared dreams, and navigated vulnerability with respect. This love was not about filling emptiness, but about enriching a heart that had learned to stand alone. It was the culmination of lessons, patience, and courage, the reward of a journey through loss that had prepared me to give and receive love wisely. Reflection became my compass. I revisited moments of despair, understanding that each tear, each sleepless night, and each pang of longing had been essential to the person I had become. Heartbreak did not define me. It had refined me, teaching endurance, empathy, and the delicate art of self-love. I found serenity in the rhythm of nature. Summer blossoms, flowing rivers, and the long, golden evenings mirrored my internal growth. Life cycles, the shedding of pain, the emergence of hope, the renewal of possibilities, reflected my own journey. I had learned that endings are not final, but gateways to new beginnings, and that even in heartbreak, the seeds of renewal are sown. Empowerment became tangible. Boundaries were sacred, passions were pursued relentlessly, and challenges were met with courage and intention. Vulnerability was no longer a source of fear, but a conscious choice that reaffirmed strength and authenticity. I walked with awareness, confidence, and the unshakable knowledge that my heart, though once broken, was capable of extraordinary love and resilience. I embraced the subtle joys of life, the warmth of sunlight, a gentle breeze, quiet laughter, and moments of stillness. Each experience reminded me that happiness is not an absence of hardship, but a presence of acceptance, gratitude, and mindful appreciation. Life, in all its complexity, was not something to endure, it was something to engage with fully, with courage, curiosity, and joy. By the time the long summer nights arrived, I could finally observe my past without pain, live my present with presence, and face the future with unwavering hope. Heartbreak had been a crucible, shaping a heart both tender and strong, capable of love, creation, and profound empathy. I realized that the journey through darkness is not a punishment, but a transformation, a passage to strength, self-awareness, and enduring joy. Standing under the twilight sky, feeling the gentle hum of life around me, I whispered with certainty, I have endured, I have grown, I have loved, lost, and loved again. My heart is strong, my spirit unbroken, and my journey continues full of hope, courage, and the promise of beauty yet to come. And with that, I embrace the full spectrum of life, knowing that even through heartbreak, the soul can find light, love, and unyielding resilience.